Well, it's the top of the hour. Welcome to the call, everyone. My name is Dr. Kirk Fiznick. I'm up here in Fargo, North Dakota. I've got my friend from down in Australia. There's Marsha, and she's got her beautiful little puppy, Lettie, on the call with us as well. And Lettie's had some remarkable changes using the Sisel product. And then I've got another friend of mine. He's not on video because he's driving right now, but Titus Rhodes. And Titus, had just originally introduced me to using Sisel products with animals. Boy, I don't even remember how many years ago that was, but so I've always kind of kept him in the back of my mind as one of those people that I want to get on a call someday, and here we are. So welcome to the call, Marsha and Titus.
Thank you so much, Doc. Good to be on.
Thank you for being here. Titus, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with Marsha. So if you want to mute yourself out and just pay attention to the road, and then I'll bring you on in just a little bit, okay? All right. So Marsha, tell us a little bit about the history of what happened with Lettie, and then kind of what the veterinarians told you and what you ended up doing, and let's see Lettie's smiling face first, and we'll go
Here
from
on
there.
my lap. There we go. Hi, gorgeous.
There she is.
Hi, baby girl. And she's always right next to me.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
What's interesting is that she was a real support to me when I was really unwell and relying on the Sisel products to regain my health. And then so when she became sick last year, it was November the 16th. I remember exactly the day because I was on my way to to deliver a speech, or a speaking engagement. And I woke up and noticed that Lettie's back legs were not really working very well. She seemed to be walking a few steps and then sitting, and then walking a few more steps and then sitting, and she was really struggling. So I woke my daughter up and said, look, I've got to go, but can you please take her to the vet because I'm a bit worried. And so when she arrived at the vet, they shaved her completely, thinking that she had a tick, because they're obviously telltale signs of having paralysis in the back legs. And it was by the end of the day when I returned home, I'd been in touch with my daughter, of course, and she had been transferred to an animal hospital because they couldn't find a tick. So they were concerned about what else it could possibly be. And they did several tests, and one of them had to be sent away, which would take about, excuse me, about 2 weeks, excuse me, to come back. And that test, the result of that test was believed not to be very good. So her prognosis was pretty bad. And so of course I was very worried. I went to visit her and I held her in my arms, and she was at this point became more paralyzed than what she had been that morning. And by Sunday afternoon, she was completely 100% paralyzed. So I had to go to work the next day. And of course, it was a very stressful day for me because I wanted to be with her. But there was a question around her possibly having a condition called polyradiculoneuritis, which is a neurological condition. And so I went to visit her after work on the Monday, and she was then completely paralyzed, and they had to put her on oxygen. And I picked her up and had a big cuddle with her, and actually said goodbye to her that night because I didn't think she was going to pull through, and the vet thought exactly the same as well. She was in a really bad way, and she seemed to be there cognitively though. Like through her eyes I could see that she like the whole time that I was holding her in my arms, she just did not take her eyes off me at all. So I had tears in my eyes when I said goodbye to her and said, look, if you can't hold on, it's okay, just go. I understand, and you've given me lots of love and support during the time that I was unwell. And so I went down to my car. I left her at the vet. I'd spent an hour with her, and I was about to take off when there was a tap at the window, and then one of the vet nurses came to my window and said, are you Alette's mum? And I said, yes. And she said, quick, come up because she's arrested, meaning she had pretty much died. And so they worked on her to bring her back, which they did. And then I stayed with her for another 20 minutes or so. And they said, look, I'm really sorry, but it's not looking good and she may not survive the night. And so I rang Sandy Biltoft. She's in my upline here in Australia. And I explained to her what had been happening and she just couldn't believe it. And she'd only met her about a week or so before, maybe 2 weeks before. And she was like really shocked. And she said, look, you really need to get some Fucoidan into her. And I said, well, yeah, I can try. So I rang the vet and I asked them if they would be open to me bringing some nutritional supplements that I'd used for when I wasn't well. And they were quite open to that, but it had to be an unopened bottle, which I didn't have. So I rang Sandy back and said, do you have an unopened bottle, or do you know somebody who does? And she said, yes, I have one. I'll bring it down straight away. So she drove an hour and a half from the Sunshine Coast to where Alette was at the vet hospital and dropped the bottle off. So in the meantime, I had called the veterinary hospital and explained to them that, I wanted to bring this supplement and, would it be okay? And they said, look, at this point, you can just give her anything you want because what we're doing isn't working. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I thought, I turned up the next morning with packets of the age pill with instructions, and on the little packet, little plastic packet that I had put the age pill into, I wrote stem cell regeneration, and a separate packet I popped in some Super Omega Plus, and in a separate packet again, I popped in some Balance D. And I gave them instructions and asked them, would they please give it to her? And they were very compliant. So I was really, really grateful. Oh. And so, yeah, they gave, I'm pretty sure that I instructed them to give her 3 H pills a day. So morning, noon and night, just to break it open and pop it into a little syringe with water or however they could get it into her. And, she wasn't opposed to taking any of it. And within 24 hours, she was off oxygen, and she was able to move her head side to side a little bit. And they were just really, really, really stunned. And within, I think, 48 hours, she was off oxygen and holding her head up and eating chicken out of their hands, just some cooked chicken. Yeah. So, then I think it was about day 4 after starting the supplements, we brought her home, and we looked after her at home. So she was still paralyzed and unable to walk, but she was able to hold her head up. So it was a struggle, but I think without the nutritional supplements from Sisel, I don't think she would have made it. So yeah, extremely grateful, of course, because she's absolute love of my life, as far as puppy dogs are concerned. And, yeah, very, very grateful to have each other. But, because I had been through what I had been through with overcoming fibromyalgia and MS using the Sisel products. And remember, I was at a point where I was hardly able to walk and I was hardly able to talk. I certainly would not have been able to have this conversation with you 18 months ago because cognitively I just wasn't really functioning. So, Alette was a really good support to me on the days that I really struggled. So, of course, I wanted to do whatever I could to look after her. And she continues on the age pill and the Super Omega Plus today, and also some gut health products. So, I've got to make sure that I keep her immune system strong. And I do believe, looking back, that it was just a serious bacterial infection that she had. That affected her nervous system.
Wow. Yeah. Let me ask you this. I mean, after everything started to turn, and that first 24 hours, the first 48 hours, the first week, what did the vets have to say?
She came up to me with a pen and a notepad and said, what is that stuff? What did you give her? What is that? So I told her all about it, and yeah, they were very keen to know lots more. And of course, I've been talking with them a lot about the Sisel products. And unfortunately, here in Australia, I don't know about every other country, but they're not allowed to suggest those products to their patients. But I have actually had a couple of people call me and ask me about the age pill, some of the vet nurses, you know, for their dogs and their pets at home. So that's been really good, but unfortunately it's something that they can't actually give the animals because they're not you know, educated or allowed really to give those products to animals, which is a bit
Wow.
sad. Yeah. But I've certainly done my bit to share it as much as I possibly can, you know, online and through Facebook, and that's it, just so that lots and lots of people know about it.
Yeah, I'm just so totally surprised that they're not allowed to I mean, when all else has failed. I mean, if nothing else has worked, why can't they just say, "Hey, get a hold of Marsha. Try it. I mean, try this stuff out."
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still working on them with regards
Yeah.
to that. So hopefully we'll get somewhere with that soon. And so somebody's asking a question in the chat box. Would you mind repeating the product? So I gave Lettie age pill. So 3 age pills a day, or the vet gave her the 3 age pills a day. So just opening up the capsules and popping them into some food or water, or however you can get it into them. The Fucoidan, Sandy suggested that I ask the vet to give Lettie, I think it was 2 meals 4 times a day. So that was a total of 8 meals a day.
2 meals 4 times a day, so 8
Yep.
meals a day. Okay.
Yeah. And the Super Mega Plus, fairly certain she was getting 2 of those a day, morning and night. And the Balance D, they were just opening up the capsules and giving her 3 a day of those.
3 a day. So about a half dose of everything.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, you know, for everybody that's on the call, everybody that's listening to this, everybody that's listening to the recording afterwards, I mean, we feel so grateful that the products did what they're supposed to do. And for those of you that are listening, I mean, we can't say prescribe, we can't say treat, we can't say cure, any of those things, because they're natural products. And just like with humans, I mean, we're regulated on what we can say. But I mean, if all else fails, you got to at least try. What do you got to lose, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Very
Well,
happy with me.
yeah, thanks for getting on and sharing. Bob, bring Lettie's face back on the screen one more time so everybody can see.
Lettie, come here. Do you want to have a little treat, Sam? Yeah. Look, who's that?
Look at that. Do you have a photo of what she looked like when she was in the hospital? Do you have it like handy right there or anything? I think I have it on my phone here. If nothing else, hang on.
Me too. I have photos, so I will just have a look at the album
here. This is what Lettie looked like in the hospital. I mean, and you look at that photo and you look at what she looks like now, it doesn't even look like the same dog.
Yeah. That's
wow.
Right.
So, well, thanks for sharing that. You know, just stay on the line with us. Titus, if you want to unmute yourself, isn't that just a great story, a recovery story?
Yes, it is. That it has been amazing to me. I never would have thought that dogs and cats would have been deficient in minerals, vitamins, minerals, probiotics, that kind of thing. Never crossed my mind. But just a little background, if you don't mind, Doc. I've spent the last 10 years working in the livestock mineral supplementation world. So, and we've used a rather unconventional source of these minerals with the primary one of the key differences that our product had in it was fulvic acid that our competition out there knows nothing of. So when I got involved with Sisel, I believe I met up with you, Doc. I think it's been 6 years ago.
That's what I was thinking too.
It's been a while, but for 4 years, I was out here telling the story in the livestock world, dealing with farmers and with dairy cattle, beef cattle, horses, all this kind of stuff. primarily throughout the Amish communities. And I was telling the story as I understood what made minerals work, why this, that, and the other thing. But it wasn't until I heard Tom Maurer explain why the SpectraMax was a unique product in the human supplement world. And when he said fulvic acid is the one thing that he puts in his one of his ingredients that, to his knowledge, very few or if anybody was putting in. And when he said that, my world changed. My degree of confidence went through the roof. I knew that what we were doing with the livestock with the types of stuff we were using, I knew it was very effective. I knew it worked, but I didn't really understand exactly why and didn't understand the science behind it. So I preface this conversation with that background, so you know a little bit where I'm coming from. I went to work with the mineral company as a business developer, and in the process, I grew passionate about minerals. And the reason being, when I see hear the story of Lettie, contamination. When I look at sickness, whether it's human or animals or whatever, it really comes down to some pretty simple things. And Doc, I appreciate your education. I appreciate where you've been and all the fields you worked in. I have a tendency to oversimplify things. So you feel free to correct me anywhere I'm wrong, okay, or need to be straightened out. But to me, it boils down to two really simple things. Sickness and disease come down to contaminations and mineral deficiencies. And when contaminations are present, then you can pretty much count on mineral deficiencies are being present as well. Simply because the body was designed, and I say the body, I'm talking animal kingdom, including human. The body was designed to have mineral substances in it, along with the proteins, et cetera, all the different components. But one of the big factors that is missing in today's medical world and today's wellness world, I'm just going to put wellness in general, is the lack of mineral substance in its full breadth. We all know about the macro minerals. We know about the 30 essentials and all that kind of stuff. But the 30 essentials were necessary because we used to be able to get all of our other mineral substances out of our foodstuffs. That's why you're supposed to eat vegetables. That's why livestock were supposed to eat hay and corn and what have you. Well, in today's environment, with the depletion of our soils, mineral depletion of our soils, whether it's through genetic manipulation or whether it's through whatever it might be, but when it's all said and done, our food stuff is really void of true nutritional substance. We'll get our energy, we'll get our protein and all that kind of stuff, but oh my, there's so much missing when we miss out on the mineral factor. And just as a side note, the one thing that really triggered really got my intrigue with minerals was that I came to recognize it is the common denominator of all life on the planet. Whether it's a tree, whether it's a blade of grass, whether it's a mosquito, whether it's an elephant, human being, or a dog, makes no difference. We all wind up as dust of the earth, and that dust of the earth is the minerals thereof, which is just a fascination to me. So when I look at how and what to treat, we can't say treat, we can't say any of this stuff, but when it comes right down to it, if you keep it really, really simple, if there is sickness, and I'm looking at 6 different studies that took place through the previous century, from 1900, somewhere in that ballpark it started, all the way up to one of the doctors is still alive. I know he's really getting old, but 6 different studies that were funded, or federally funded studies, as I understand it. They all came back with the same conclusion that sickness and virtually, the verbiage is the virtually all sickness and disease can be traced back to a lack of minerals. Okay. So if that's the case, then let's not make anything complicated here. If we're sick, let's bring our mineral levels up and see what happens, see how much sickness we have left over, see what we have to work with once we bring our mineral substances up to par. And so that's been the approach in at least in the last 6-7 years in my business with livestock supplementation. Is they ask me what's wrong with this, or what, I got this particular issue on my horse. How do I fix it? Bring the mineral levels up. Oh, I got this particular issue going on with this horse. Well, what do you do? Bring the mineral levels up. And it's just pretty much. I think I can say 100%. I'm not able to save everything. No, there's going to be animals die on us and what have you, but the reality is they're much better off if we bring their mineral substances up and take care of that. So Spectramax, fantastic source of minerals. And what the fulvic acid is doing, it really helps to drive, transport, however you want to term it, but it takes that mineral substance into the cell itself. That's what's necessary. The majority of mineral substances that are purchased on the human market today, and by all means, when it comes to the commercial livestock market, the availability, in other words, what the cellular use of the market, that the bulk of the market out here, the cellular use averages maybe 10%. Okay. So you spend a lot of money you think you're doing all the right things. You're feeding your dog something you picked up at the store. You may be taking a supplement yourself, brand X. Now, which brand X supplement, whatever it is, the reality of that being a real usable, cellularly available mineral product is really pretty slim. Which that's why I'm a user of the Sisel products, because I know that those products, they change my life. And when they change, when a mineral, if you're taking a mineral substance and you're not getting the benefit out of it, or if you're not really feeling a difference while you're taking it, or you quit taking it and you don't notice a difference, you're probably not getting much use out of it. So that's why you want to, I've had, I'm sure everyone on here has had the compliment or comment made that, I'll say compliment, that Sisel products are expensive. Well, yes, they are. Compared to what? When you're getting virtually 100% use out of it, compared to 10% use, it's not cheap anymore, or it's not expensive anymore, is it? So when it comes to feeding your dogs, when it comes to feeding pets, I had a case with a horse. Now this was a very high-end, high-dollar horse, and he got what we call here in the States rain rot. It was an infection, a fungal infection. And he picked it up at a show barn where they were showing the stallions, and somebody put a blanket on him. Long story short, he got this infection, and it was a fungal infection. They took the horse back to Pennsylvania, and had the vet working on it. When you're relying on having that kind of money wrapped up in a stallion for stud service, and it runs a high fever, and the sperm count drops down from 230,000 down to 30,000, and the viability of what is there is pretty much dead, that becomes a real concern for the people with an investment. Well, I had him on our livestock supplements, and everything we were doing the best we could, and the vet was monitoring him, and she kept saying, well, he's doing better, but he's still running a fever. And I just don't see that you're going to lose his viability. You will not be able to use him for stud service. And so we continued doing our protocol. And one day the owner called me and asked me, he said, we were conversing about something. I said, just tell me exactly what rain rot is. And he said, well, the vet says it's really a fungus. It's a fungal infection. And I said, he's still got a fever, right? And he said, yeah. I said, do you mind trying something? He said, I don't care if it's something you believe in, something you might work. He said, I don't care what it's going to cost. I don't care what we got to do. Let's figure it out. So I knew that fucoidin had the properties in it that were very effective against fungal infection and also in supporting the immune system to remove fungal infection. So I figured up, and this is information, if you're not aware of it, the dosage, recommended dosage on the bottles are set up for 150-pound body weight. Is that right, Doc?
That's right. Yep.
Okay. So you take 150-pound body weight, and if it's 22 milliliters on the fucoidin, you just do the math on it. Well, this horse weighed right around 1,200 pounds. So I forget exactly how the dosage worked out on it, but what I do know is the end result. We fed that fucoidin to that horse at the recommended dosage for 2 weeks. And it went for 30 days, 1 full month. We put it on there. At the end of that month, that horse, the fever was completely knocked out of the horse. The sperm count went all the way from 30,000 back up to, we were at 200,000. And the only thing left, when the vet was just blown away, he said, this is craziness. How do you get, what is this stuff? And I explained it to her, and she's, well, okay. That's about the best I could do. But long story short, fucoidin wasn't the only answer here. The sperm viability was still weak. Even though we had a count, they're relying on it has to be strong enough to ship and all that kind of stuff. So long story short, I did a little research and found out this is how simple things can be. And I really, I think too many times we complicate things. What he needed yet was a dose of vitamin C. We put the vitamin C to him, and literally overnight, the viability of that sperm went from not viable to 100% viable. Wow. So little small things like that can really change and make significant difference. Long story short, the stallion is, that's been, I forget how many years ago now, but he's still in service, has colts all around the country. So the other side of this thing, one other area I want to touch on real quick, if you don't mind, is when we talk about contaminants, look at our food supply. When you look at the human food supply, it's pathetic. Imagine what is going into your dog food and your cat food. Okay. As pathetic as the human food supply is here in the States, I can assure you the dog food and the cat food, even though in some cases there are higher regulations, I know enough of the ingredients that are going into that stuff that we're really, there's more than a fair share of contaminants going into your pets. So mineralization, detoxification of pets becomes very, very critical. One thing I've worked with quite a few of the breeding kennels in both cats and dogs. The problems that they were experiencing with C-sections, weren't able to deliver puppies and so on and so forth. The mother's milk was way down so that the puppies weren't getting enough food and all that kind of thing. And my goodness, I had no clue that animals experience, dogs and cats. I knew about horses and cattle, but never once crossed my mind that dogs and cats were that deficient. And man, when we put the substance to them, they perk right up. They do fantastic. And so there is there's a when we support the body as it was originally designed, to the best of our understanding, what science has shown us as far as how our body was designed to function, and we get in alignment with what I call divine design, when we look at life through that lens and we start to treat ourselves, treat our wellness instead of treating sickness, the definition of treat is to pay special attention to, or to give special attention to. Where did we ever turn the corner and start giving special attention to sickness? If we put less effort into treating, giving special attention to sickness, and more into wellness, we'd turn a whole lot of corners. But the key is, let's support the divine design that's built into every animal. And the cool thing about that is the animal function is virtually the same, whether it's two-legged or four-legged, whether it's a bird or a cat or an elephant or a dog. It makes no difference. The function, overall function, is the same. We got to get nutrients into the cells. And what I've seen, the difference of those different species is really the digestive system. So as long as you got the substance there to go in, the digestive system is designed to take care of it, and it will disperse it if you've got stuff of high quality and availability. Most of what is being sold on the market is, just take calcium carbonate, for example. Calcium carbonate availability, cellular availability, what we can actually extract and integrate into the cellular structure, is pretty much across the board. Multiple sources have verified it, about 3%. Okay. So if we don't have a better source of calcium than calcium carbonate, we're going to be deficient in calcium, of which most people are. And the unfortunate part is that actually converts right over into the fields where the produce is being grown, so on and so forth. So it becomes very critical to inform ourselves of the divine design, and then what do we have available to us that actually supports the divine design system. Okay. And so that's why SpectrumX does what it does. That's why Fucoidan. These are supplements. You mentioned using the age pill. Fantastic source of detoxification, cellular detoxification. Gets in all the little places. Generally, I mean, I never heard of cellular detoxification until, what's it been? Probably the last 5-6 years. You really hear a lot about it. Well, we're fortunate with Sisel to have the research team that we have available to us to feed us this kind of information. But up until that point, a detox was pretty much cleaning out the colon, and that was about it. And yes, that's critical and crucial. But when you have significant sickness take place, a significant infection, something that's debilitating, we got to go deeper than just cleaning out the colon. We got to get in and apply this stuff everywhere else. So that's my 2 cents on it, Doc.
All right. Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just taking some notes. Titus, thanks for sharing all your great information. That's people want to hear this stuff. I mean, there's people that pay good money to hear the information that you just gave everybody for free. Right?
Well, yeah, my pockets are open, Kurt.
There you go. We'll start a GoFundMe account for Titus Rhodes.
But I'm happy to be of use. I really am. That's a blessing.
You were talking about that over the course of the last 100 years that they've noticed, that mineral deficiencies. It's actually interesting. When I was in chiropractic college, I learned about a study that was done way back in 1908, so just a little bit over 100 years ago, and it was funded by the United States government, and they said at that time, back 112 years ago, they said that the minerals in our soil, the minerals that the plants were using to grow the plants, was so deficient. They said at that time, they said within the next 50 to 100 years, we're going to have a problem, and yet. We're not doing anything about it. You take a head of lettuce from the 1950s and you compare it to today. You have to eat 12 heads of lettuce to get the same nutrition that you did 50 years ago. So that tells you where we're going. And Linus Pauling, you know, one of the great scientists that worked a lot with nutrition. I mean, he said, look for a mineral deficiency when you have a chronic disease. So you're dead on. You're dead on. It's interesting stuff. You know, when you were talking about the horse, I mean, you're talking about a multi-million-dollar stud stallion, right?
Close, yeah. It was expensive. Yep.
Yeah. And so how much you said 8 times the dosage based on the weight? Is that what you were giving that horse as a dosage?
Whatever was on the bottle, yeah. I mean, all I did was just simply took the 150 pounds, that would be right. 1,200 pounds divided by 150, and that's what we put to it. And it was
Yes.
so it was really it was not an it would have been an accurate normal dose. Nothing at all.
Mhm.
You know, no overdosing on him at all to get the results that we did.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, you know, like with my dog, I've got a 12-year-old black lab that doesn't look or act like a 12-year-old dog at all. When I go to the vet, they always question me if I'm sure about his age, but I give him Body Shield every single day. I roll it up in a piece of cheese and I give him a capsule of Body Shield in the morning and another one at night. And it's interesting, when I was reading about fulvic acid with animals, they said that's one reason that animals will tend to eat dirt. Because they're getting that fulvic acid out of the dirt. So, and
there's a variety of I think it's the fulvic acid is part of it, but the other part of it is just the minerals itself. A lot of times they're deficient. But I do want to, when we talk about the availability here, folks, is cellular availability. I did a little test. Now it needs a little more work, but at least the preliminary test was pretty fascinating to me. I always wondered, when we talk about cellular availability on minerals, is it something you can measure? Well, I know on beef cattle, when we would use our beef supplement, the farmer was always shipping heavier weights than what he thought they were. Based on before he used a highly available mineral, they looked like they'd weigh 1,000 pounds, and he was wound up shipping like 1,250 weights, something like that.
wow.
And so I wanted to see whether that really carried out. Well, this past winter, one of my customers had one of their cattle slaughtered, and they put the meat up. And I asked him, I said, "Would you mind if I got a chunk of that meat? I'd like to do a little test here." And I had just gotten my my air fry oven at the house, and I thought, and a little scale. I said, this would be a good way to check this out. So I went to the store. I got a piece of meat from them, and I went to the store and got another piece of meat that was similar cut. And I scaled it out, made sure that I had about the same amount of leanness and everything there, and scaled it out, put it in the oven, set the timer at 30 minutes. I wanted this stuff burnt, completely dried out, right? The test came back that the meat that had been fed a highly available mineral was 25% heavier than the meat that wasn't.
Wow.
So when we're talking about food substances, and it's very interesting you said that about that study that took place in 1908. Imagine if they were concerned then, imagine where we're at now. I saw a recent study. It takes 48 apples today to equal, 48 apples. That was in 1987, I believe it was. 48 apples to equal 1 apple in 1950.
Wow.
That's big time. That's big stuff. So how deficient are we? Do we wonder why we're overweight? Do we wonder why, we're hungry? We really, here in this country, we are really hungry, and we don't know what we're hungry for. And I've
That's right.
found for myself, if I build my mineral substances up, I'm not nearly as hungry anymore. Then I got to just curb the habit of eating. But
That's right.
outside of that, so anyway, yeah, good conversation, Kurt. I appreciate it.
You bet. Well, and then you talked about calcium, calcium carbonate versus what we use. We actually use something called calcium hydroxyapatite. That's the type of calcium that Tom uses. And in the studies that they did, a company out in Washington State had to prove it to the United States government, to the FDA. But they said in comparison, it was like 97% more bioavailable for making for growing bone mass. It was huge. It was huge. And then we talk about, we can get into a whole another subject to talk about heavy metals and how heavy minerals or heavy metals will actually compete with minerals in your body for the receptor sites and cause the problems there. When you were talking about toxicity and you look at glyphosate actually pulls minerals out of your body. And what food can you eat today that doesn't have a little bit of glyphosate in it? You eat a piece of bread, it's glyphosate in it. And it's just amazing where what this stuff will do. And back in the 1960s, when it was first invented, the first patent on glyphosate was actually as a mineral chelator. It would pull cobalt out of the soil and out of things. And what do we need cobalt for?
Wow.
Well, we need that to make cobalamin, which is vitamin B12. So somebody had a question here for you, Titus. They asked, what would you recommend? And I know we can't say a treat or cure or anything like that, but what would you recommend for an animal that maybe had arthritis?
Well, look at arthritis as a genetic weakness in the joints, if you will. So what we want to do is get that stuff cleaned out, and to do that, we simply support the body systems that are going to decalcify, that kind of thing. So what I would be looking at on arthritis is, let me see. Of the Sisel line, I'm going to go with age pill. Should be very effective at supporting those systems. Fucoidan is going to be very effective. And what you want to be doing, and I would go ahead and do some of the calcium K2 with that as well, because what you've got going on is you've got calcification. Now, I used to think calcification, and I know when we use that word calcification, a lot of times it is people think about, well, we're getting too much calcium or the wrong types of calcium. That's not necessarily what calcification means. It has more to do with the blending of contaminants with improperly digested nutrients, is the way I would term it. And so you've got a weakness in a digestive system that's not breaking everything down. So you want to do things to support that. And then we want to make sure that that we reduce the contaminants as much as we possibly can to keep that stuff from binding together, and then it gets lodged in the joints. It gets there's various things that I found with that. So anyhow, that's a suggestion.
Yeah. What do you think about Renovator for animals?
I wouldn't know why that wouldn't work. It didn't come to my mind. I haven't used Renovator much myself, but yeah, that would. Yeah, knowing what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I give that to Chewy every day. I give that to my dog every day. He gets his Renovator.
Yeah. Well,
half dose.
It's a the other thing is the hydrogen, the H2. That stuff breaks up that kind of thing. Yeah, it's
right.
there's a lot of things are going on right now with that whole concept of decalcifying. Man, it's some really neat stuff, but that's another rabbit trail.
There you go. Yeah, that's another conversation. So, well, let me. I'll see if Marsha has any questions, and then we'll let you get back to your driving. Marsha, do you have any questions for Titus?
No, not really, but I'm definitely going to be giving my puppy dogs a little bit more of the Spectrumax after listening to Titus about how good Spectrumax is. But, you know, the age pill has been really wonderful for both my girls. And I've actually got a little 14-year-old on my lap as well. Her name's Calamity Jane. And she's been getting 2 age pills a day. And she's actually a little bit blind in one eye, but I've been able to, you can see that there, but I've been able to, she did start going blind in her right eye as well. But that's actually gone away by giving her an extra age pill a day. They also have some really super powerful probiotics and that. But yeah, so look, I think that, you know, our dogs, our animals have a very similar, you know, digestive system. They have a bladder, they have kidneys, they have all the same sort of functions. So it makes sense. And then when you were talking about, you know, what's in their food, I do, you know, look at some of the dog food that people are feeding their pets and just wonder, wow, like how are they even, you know, surviving on that sort of stuff. So there's so much fat in some of them that's really very bad for them, causes lots of issues. So I actually give my pets I mean, they do definitely get some meat, but they get lots of vegetables and they get some brown rice and grated carrot and things like that just to bulk up their fiber a little bit more. So all of that's very important. Kurt, I've actually found a little video here of Alette, if you'd like me to show it. It's only 14 seconds, so hopefully it'll come through when I bring it up to my screen here. And this is her trying to walk. It's a bit glary, but you know, she's getting there. And there was another one here prior to her trying to walk. She was just crawling on the grass. She was really having trouble. Yeah.
and now no problem at all.
No, we're running. We're running again, both of us. So
right.
we go for a good 45-minute walk every day, if not twice a day. And yeah, she's really super duper healthy, and I'm so very grateful.
Very nice. Kurt, there was one other thing I wanted to throw in there very quickly for people. One is the use of the balanced D, probiotics. If your pet all of a sudden comes down, is sick, just everything is going along fine, and suddenly they're not, and they whatever might be, the combination of Spectrumax and the Balance D is a fantastic combination, because you want to go in. What that's going to do is just ignite the immune system. It's going to give the immune system a whole wealth of support there to go in and do what it's got to do. You know, people say, well, how much is too much? I don't know that I simply say use some common sense, because I don't know that there is a prescription or a suggested or recommendation when they're sick. Again, using the body weight, I would say I oftentimes would go maybe to as much as 4 times overdose on a very sick animal just to bring them back. And it's amazing what you can do. Again, you may not always be able to save them, but at least you can give them enough of an opportunity to get the stuff out of their system that caused the sickness. So that's all.
Go. All right. Well, Titus, thanks for being with us tonight. I sure appreciate your time. And Marsha, thanks for sharing your dog story. And Lettie, thanks for being with us tonight. I know she's been watching the screen pretty good too. So paying attention.
Yeah.
And for all of you in the audience, thanks for being with us tonight, and get this out to people. I'll have it up on the YouTube channel. I'll post it on Facebook so you can share it with everybody. I'll add it out the beginning where we were just opening the call. So thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend. Have a great month of August. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.